Why, hello again. My name's D. Campbell, and I'm a coding educator, and I just love spreading the good word when it comes to medical coding and all the weird caveats that are in it. Today's video, we're going to be talking about CPT codes that change based off of regions and how you may be underreporting your procedures. Many providers and coders tend to use the more or less default codes where they'll default to using those codes because they're just easier to remember when a lot of them are broken down by regions and you can code to the highest level possible. We will discuss how that will work here. First, we're going to start out with lacerations because lacerations are by far the easiest one where we're all aware of the regions, but there are weird caveats that should be explained on it. As you can see, simple and intermediate and complex have their own separate versions of locations. That's broken down by just two regions when it comes to simple, and then intermediate breaks it down into three separate regions. Basically, what you can see happens is the neck, external genitalia, and extremities all get separated into their own grouping. Reason for that is there's a higher RVU to these groupings because, let's face it, if I have a bad scar on my trunk, I'm not necessarily going to care as much as compared to my genitalia. So it has a higher RVU attached to it for that reason. A caveat to point out, though, that a lot of providers miss when it comes to intermediate wound care that doesn't get reported as often is, let's find where it says it in here. A single layer closure of heavily contaminated wound that requires extensive cleaning or removal of particulate matter may also be considered intermediate repair. So just remember that intermediate repair isn't just purely based off of the level of layer of closure. It can also be if there's a lot of cleaning involved in your injury. For FQHCs, that might happen a lot more often where you may have a homeless population and you're dealing with, I guess, unhoused population. Sorry about that. That you may want to use the intermediate code more often once you're doing more extensive cleanings. So that way you're properly showing the level of work that you're doing. For lesion destructions, they get broken down quite a bit more into different locations here, where a lot of people will default to this 1710 code for everything. This is your benign general location code. Sorry for the typo there. Oops. These are your general codes that will be used whenever a more specific code doesn't exist. So, for example, if you're destroying a lesion on the penis, vagina, or vulva, all of those will have their own specific codes that should be reported instead of this basic code here. I'll break down further down in the video for how you can break this down even further to make certain you're maximizing your revenue. So just make certain you are reporting your codes to the highest level. Now, all these job aids will be available in my Google Drive file, so don't worry about if you can see everything with my little blob here at the bottom. They will be available for you to review. But just remember, a lot of codes are based off of regions and make certain you're reporting to the highest level. Incision and drainages also have specific location codes. People will generally default to this 160 code for every single incision and drainage, but those codes are only for skin of all other areas. If a code exists for one of these specific locations, you should report those codes instead. Obviously, they have higher RVUs, and they're also more specific codes, so they are worth reporting. General skin codes. We have our skin tag codes that are just your basic skin tag codes that you want to report. That wart destruction code that I explained before. And then you have all your dystopic nail codes and all these different fun little codes here. For excisions, I have those broken down by locations. And then burns as well are just broken down by percentage of your body. So just be aware of these guidelines. That's how you will report it. For dermatology procedures, I have them all broken down by regions here, where a laceration repair is just going to be the simple table. Destruction codes are, some of them will have their own specific codes. Pre-malignant are pretty easy to work with. Malignant ones are pretty easy to work with. Incision and drainage. Just make certain you're reporting to the highest region possible. If a specific regional code exists, do use those regional codes. Other codes that are broken down here on this video that I would like you to be aware of is here's another nice little table. Just remember these are just general procedures that happen often in a procedure. So just make certain you're reporting your biopsies to the highest level possible, where it is broken down by how the biopsy was performed. If it was calluses that were removed, make certain you report the actual callus code. Looks like I got an extra 1 on that one, sorry about that. In incision and removal with foreign bodies, make certain you report the foreign body. Don't just do an incision and drainage code. Make certain you report to the highest level every single time. And finally, I got some examples here for procedure codes and how it'll break down on an RVU level. A patient presents with multiple lesions, destructions performed on 4 penile lesions, 5 in the pubic area, 1 on the rectum. The provider billed it as only 17100, destruction of benign lesions other than skin tags or cutaneous proliferated lesions 1 to 14. So let's say the provider did only bill it as that and the coder didn't correct it. This visit is going to be just a 0.68 RVU. However, we have multiple regions broken down here. You can report the penile lesion destruction code because they did destroy the penile lesions. You can report the anal lesion code as well because they destroyed a lesion on the rectum. And then you can also report that 17110 code because the pubic region isn't actually a part of the penile code. The penile codes are truly just the penis itself. If it's on the scrotum, it doesn't count. You would have to use a 17110 code. But as you can see, if you break it down to everything that actually happens, you end up with a 3.8 RVU. Quite a bit higher than that 0.68 RVU. So make certain you're reporting to the highest level possible. Patient presents with multiple pubic lesions. Patient elected for destruction. Remove 2 on the manos pubis, 3 on the pubic region, and I incised and expressed the Bartholin gland. Once again, if we report it as only the 1710, we're going to be at 0.68 RVUs. But if we attach also the destruction of vulva lesion and the IND of the Bartholin gland, we are now at 3.62 RVUs. So make certain you're always reporting to the highest level possible. Manos pubis is considered a part of the vulva region for this code. Even the perineum is technically a part of the vulva region. Well, the pubic region isn't considered a part of it, so we can use that 17110 as well for it. Patient presents with abscess on the left earlobe. I incised the abscess and expressed it manually. Someone might report this as only a 160 code. Well, actually, there's a higher level code that could be reported. The actual drainage of external ear abscess or hematoma. As we're looking, we got a 1.19 RVU for the generic default IND code, while the ear IND code has a 1.46 RVU. So we are looking at a significant difference here, so it is worth reporting the actual procedure that was done. Common example too that'll happen is providers will report the wrong biopsy codes. Patient has a 0.8 centimeter lesion, suspicious mole on their right chest, shave biopsy performed today, and sample sent to the lab. They'll usually default to just one of these more generic biopsy codes, where if you just do the punch biopsy code, as you can see, it is higher RVU for the trunk, which is the lowest RVU region when it comes to codes, because as I explained earlier, is RVUs also include malpractice aspect of it and the likelihoods of complaints. No one's really going to complain about a bad scar on their trunk, but if you have a bad scar on your face, they're more likely to complain, and thus it has a higher RVU value to it. So this is the worst code possible to compare it to, being a trunk code. And as you can see, as soon as we get to the second level of code, it's already a higher RVU value. So always report your biopsies as well to the highest level possible. And finally, I got a foot care broken down here. Patient presents with 6 calluses that are bothersome. They requested that they be removed. Pairing performed on all 6 calluses. If you report the 1710, that's going to be improper reporting because calluses have their own specific codes here. 17110 has an RVU value of 0.68. As you can see, even if we get to the highest level Callus code, 5 plus, it's only a 0.63 RVU value. So this will be the inverse of it, where you are over-reporting and you are charging too much for your surface. Obviously, this is the worst version of fraud possible. Insurance is never going to get mad at you for under-reporting because they love underpaying stuff. But if you over-report, you will get in trouble for that. So just be aware of Calluses having their own specific codes with their own specific lower RVU values to it. So make certain you're always reporting to the highest level possible. And that's it. That's basically how you do these more basic procedures in office that we all do and we all see every single day. Just make certain you're always aware of what region the procedure happened, since regions will affect payments and it will affect RVU values. My name's D. Campbell. Thanks for watching all my videos. Oh, a quick side comment on this, if you're not aware of how to report multiple sites when it happens, is you will be using the modifier 59 on this lower surface codes here. So like these codes here, let me pull us back up. These lower surface codes here, you will put the modifier 59 on them to indicate the separate site so that way you can get the payment. So this 1710 will get the 59 on it since it's the lesser code to let insurance know that all three of these sites truly did happen. And that's truly it. That's how you do these procedures. My name's D. Campbell. Thanks for watching my video. Make certain you're reporting to the highest level possible. It's always worth it. Otherwise, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Look at these RVU differences that we're talking about here. A whole 3-point RVU difference on a visit is a significant amount of money left out on the table. My name's D. Campbell. Thanks again.